These stories were created by an AI to bring you chills and thrills. If you notice any mistakes or odd phrasing, I sincerely apologize. Sit back, enjoy the eerie atmosphere, and remember, sometimes the scariest things are closer than you think. Emily had always hated the dark. It wasn't the absence of light that unsettled her. It was the way silence thickened in the void, how every creak of the apartment walls seemed deliberate. Like something was testing the air, waiting for her, to let her guard down. When the lights flickered, she barely reacted. Storms had been rolling in all evening, and the old building's wiring was questionable at best. But when the power cut completely, plunging her into absolute darkness, her breath hitched. She reached for her phone. Dead. That's impossible. She had charged it an hour ago. A whisper of movement came from behind her. Not the wind, not the settling of the building. A voice. Emily. She spun, heart hammering. Nothing. Just the oppressive dark pressing in. Then, thud. Something heavy hit the floor in the hallway, the hand in the dark. Her pulse roared in her ears as she inched forward, arms outstretched. The hardwood floor was icy under her bare feet. Her toes brushed against something, not a shoe, not a dropped blanket. It was cold, rough. Fingers. She recoiled, biting back a scream. The thing twitched, then grabbed her ankle. Emily shrieked, kicking wildly. The grip loosened and she stumbled back, crashing into the coffee table. Pain shot up her spine, but she barely registered it. The lights blazed back on. Gasping, she scanned the room. Empty. No hand, no intruder. But on the floor, deep, jagged scratches, as if something with claws had been circling her. The truth in. The walls she called the police. They found nothing. But that night, the lights went out again. This time she heard breathing, wet, ragged, right beside her ear. The emergency flashlight flickered to life in her trembling hands. The beam caught a face in the mirror. Pale, sunken eyes, a mouth stretched too wide. It wasn't her reflection. She ran. The front door wouldn't open. Behind her, the scraping started again. Closer, closer. The ending. When the power returned at dawn, the apartment was empty. No Emily, no monster. Just the scratches on the floor, now forming words, "I'm still here." And in the mirror, a shadow that moved when no one was looking. David had worked the night shift at Crestwood Hospital for 5 years. He'd seen it all. Code blues, panicked families, the eerie quiet of the morgue. But tonight felt different. The storm outside rattled the windows. The power flickered once, twice, then died. Emergency lights hummed to life, casting the hallways in an eerie red glow. "Generators on," he muttered, checking the monitors. Then he saw it, the figure on the screen. The security feed showed a hallway. Empty. Then movement. Figure, tall and hunched, stepped into frame. Its limbs were too long, its movements jerky, unnatural. David's blood turned to ice. The thing turned its head directly at the camera, as if it knew he was watching. The approach. The figure took a step forward, then another. David's hands shook. As he dialed security, no answer. The feed glitched. The figure was closer now. Another glitch. Right outside his door. A soft knock. Then the lights went out. The face in the dark David's breath came in short gasps. He fumbled for his phone. The screen lit up and illuminated a face pressed against the glass partition. Black eyes. Her grin with too many teeth. The door creaked open. The generator failed. Darkness swallowed him whole. The ending. When morning came, the power was restored. David's chair was empty. The security footage showed only static. But if you listened closely to the recording, you could hear whispering in the dark and the sound of something dragging a body down the hall. The storm outside Mark's apartment had been building all evening, the kind of heavy summer thunderstorm that made the windows rattle in their frames. He sat on his couch, scrolling through his phone, barely paying attention to the weather, until the first loud crack of thunder made him jump. The lights flickered once, twice, then went out completely. "Great," Mark muttered, setting his phone down on the coffee table. The screen's glow provided the only light in the suddenly pitch-black apartment. He stood and felt his way toward the kitchen where he kept flashlights, his hands brushing against the walls as he navigated the familiar space. Just as his fingers closed around the cool metal of the flashlight, he heard it, a soft scraping sound coming from his bedroom. Mark froze, listening. The sound came again, a slow drag of something across hardwood floors. His first thought was a tree branch against the window, but the bedroom was on the second floor facing the alley. No trees grew that close to the building. He clicked on the flashlight, the beam cutting through the darkness as he turned toward the hallway leading to his bedroom. The scraping stopped the moment the light hit the bedroom door. Mark's breath came quick and shallow as he took slow steps forward. The flashlight beam shook slightly in his grip. When he reached the doorway, he swept the light across the room, bed neatly made, dresser undisturbed, closet door slightly ajar. As always, nothing out of place. Then he saw the scratches. Deep grooves in the hardwood floor extended from beneath the bed, fresh enough that pale wood showed through the dark stain. They weren't random marks, but deliberate lines, as if something with claws had been testing its strength against the floorboards. Mark knelt down, running his fingers over the grooves. The wood felt rough and splintered under his fingertips, and when he pulled his hand back, he saw tiny shards embedded in his skin. A sudden gust of wind rattled the window, making Mark jump to his feet. His heart pounded so hard he could feel it in his throat. The rational part of his mind tried to explain it away. Maybe the building had settling issues or an animal had gotten in somehow. But another, deeper instinct told him to run, to get out now before whatever made those marks decided to show itself. As if in response to that thought, the scratching started again, louder this time, more insistent. The flashlight beam wavered, as Mark's hands began to shake uncontrollably. The scratching became a rhythmic thumping, something solid hitting the underside of the bed frame with enough force to make the mattress tremble. Mark backed toward the door, but before he could turn to run, his flashlight flickered and died. Complete darkness enveloped him. The thumping stopped. In the sudden silence, Mark could hear his own panicked breathing, the blood rushing in his ears. Then came a new sound, the creak of bed springs as weight shifted above him. Something was on his bed. The smell hit him first, the coppery tang of blood mixed with something earthy and rotten, like damp soil from a freshly dug grave. Hot breath washed over the back of his neck, carrying with it the stench of decay. Mark's muscles locked in primal terror. Every instinct screamed at him to run, but his body refused to obey. A whisper, so close he could feel lips brushing against his ear, "Don't move." The voice wasn't human. It sounded like multiple voices layered together, some whispering, some growling, all speaking in perfect unison. The words vibrated through Mark's bones, settling deep in his chest like swallowed ice. Mark's phone chose that moment to ring, the sudden burst of sound and light from the living room, breaking whatever hold the thing had on him. He stumbled forward, nearly falling in his haste to escape the bedroom. His hands slapped against the walls as he ran blindly down the hallway toward the glowing screen of his phone on the coffee table. He grabbed it, the caller ID showing unknown number. He swiped to answer, pressing the phone to his ear as he turned back toward the dark hallway. "Hello? Hello?" he gasped into the receiver. Static crackled in response. Then a voice, the same multi-layered voice from the bedroom, whispered through the phone. "You moved." The call disconnected. Mark's blood turned to ice. Behind him, the bedroom door slammed shut with enough force to shake the walls. Then came the sound of something heavy being dragged across the floor inside, accompanied by wet, tearing noises. Mark didn't wait to hear more. He ran for the apartment door, fumbling with the locks before throwing it open and sprinting into the hallway. The emergency lights in the building hallway flickered weakly, casting long shadows that seemed to reach for him as he passed. He didn't stop running until he burst through the building's front door into the pouring rain. The storm raged around him as he stood gasping on the sidewalk, rain soaking through his clothes in seconds. He turned back to look at his apartment building, his second-floor window dark like all the others. Then the lights in his apartment flickered back on. Through the rain-streaked window, Mark saw a shadow move across his living room, a tall, distorted shape that paused as if sensing his gaze before slowly turning toward the window. Mark ran again, not stopping until he reached the 24-hour diner 6 blocks away. He collapsed into a booth, his entire body shaking. The waitress took one look at his pale face and dripping clothes and brought him coffee without asking. Mark wrapped his hands around the warm mug, trying to stop the tremors racking his body. "You okay, hun?" the waitress asked, her brow furrowed. With concern. Mark opened his mouth to respond when his phone buzzed in his pocket. With trembling fingers, he pulled it out. A text message from an unknown number. Just 2 words. "I'm waiting." The coffee cup slipped from Mark's fingers, shattering on the diner floor. He knew with cold certainty that whatever was in his apartment wasn't done with him yet. And worse, he had nowhere else to go. The storm still raged outside, and as he sat in the brightly lit diner, the shadows in the corners seemed darker than they should be, as if something lurked just beyond the light's reach, patiently waiting for him to move. Home is where the heart is, but sometimes it's also where the shadows wait. Lock the doors, turn on the lights, and whatever you do, don't look behind you.